If you find yourself tongue-tied when in the presence of the attractive other person, did you know you literally have 3 seconds to take stock and to overcome the problems and the restrictions that your amygdala is going to place upon your social interactions? The first thing you need to do is be able to recognize when this is happening, and then you need to know what to do when it happens. Stick with me for a little while and I'll take you through why your inner brain, your amygdala, works in the way it does and how it is crushing your prospects and keeping you locked in the friend zone. I want you to go back in time to evolutionary prehistory. I want you to consider how we are programmed to notice difference, novelty and the unusual. That is one of the roles of our amygdala. The problem we have is the amygdala isn't wired to detect the difference between a leopard falling out of a tree and certain social situations. Humans see social rejection as akin to a death warrant. And what I mean by this is, evolutionarily, if you were rejected from the tribe, it could mean your certain death. You could starve, you could fall prey to other tribes or predators. And so we have an innate fear of losing social credibility. Our amygdala is perfectly geared to noticing these things and to alerting us and giving us certain physiological signs when they do occur. The problem you've got is your amygdala didn't get the memo. Nobody has told your amygdala that there is a difference between a leopard jumping on you and getting rejected by some hot chick. And so what happens is that you wander into social situations unaware that your inner brain is working against you. You have literally a 3-second window before the amygdala takes over and then renders you speechless, with a fast heartbeat, clammy palms, palpitations, shortness of breath. What is happening is that your flight or fight mechanism is kicking in. And socially, of course, we can't just turn tail and run, and so we go through all of the physiological activities that are necessary in order to be able to sprint away from danger, but we find ourselves locked in place. So therefore, when you find yourself in the presence of that attractive other, you're going to find yourself locked in place with all of the wrong symptoms. The way that you're going to try and counter it is by being really nice. Nobody's looking for a nice guy. When you act like a nice guy, and I'm not talking about being rude or aggressive, what I'm talking about is being overly accommodating. When you act in that fashion, it's the equivalent to rolling over and showing your soft underbelly. Any woman with any ounce of sanity is going to put you straight into the friend zone on that basis. I'm going to interrupt this presentation just to show you that there is a PDF that you can download if you so desire. And if you want to, it can take you through 4 stages of how your amygdala works against you and what to do if it should so do. So click on the link below and help yourself. What I'd like to impress upon you is that the friend zone is something that you are creating for yourself by allowing yourself to be hijacked by your own amygdala. You have to notice what is happening physiologically and emotionally and how you're feeling, which is a natural response to difference, to novelty, to the frisson of potential danger. However, when you do act physiologically in response to these things, what you're doing is showing yourself to be weak, potentially as prey. Therefore, you are disqualifying yourself from gaining the kinds of respect and appreciation that you're hoping to gain by simply being there. Simply being in the presence of somebody else is not enough. In fact, being in the presence of somebody else and displaying weakness and displaying uncertainty, being tongue-tied and being unable to string together sentences and trying to be overly accommodating is a recipe for disaster. It isn't about intergender relationships. Your friend zoning is something that you're doing to yourself because you are failing to understand how your amygdala is operating. So what is the answer? Let's have a look at some things that can be done to try and overcome this innate social limitation. The first thing I would suggest you do is recognize that you are entering into a novel, new or strange situation, and then you need to take stock of certain things, and you have a 3-second window to do it in. How are you responding physically? What's your breathing like? How do you feel? Is your heart racing? Are you short of breath? If you are feeling those things, your amygdala is taking over and hijacking your emotional presence and your stack, and presenting yourself as weak, indecisive, and incapable of coherent thought. Having taken stock of what is going on, you need to be able to overcome those limitations within that 3-second window. How long does it take you to count to 3? Well, that is the time that you have in order to fix this problem. Breathe more deeply. Understand that you are entering into a novel, interesting situation. Understand when you enter into that novel or interesting situation, if you allow your amygdala to take over, it's going to make you look weak, subservient, and vulnerable. Understand what is happening and then take measures to overcome it. Breathe more deeply. Take in some oxygen. Count to 10 before you go into the situation. Lower your heart rate and then go into that situation with some confidence, with your shoulders back and with a sense of prepossession. Once you've managed to overcome the limitations of the fight or flight reflex, you're going to find yourself more successful in social situations, whether they be romantic or otherwise, whether they be in a business setting, in an interview setting, or even in the shops. Take stock of how your physiology is hijacking you and how it's rendering you socially inept. Do something about it. Stop creating the circumstances which mean or enable you to end up in the friend zone. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been useful to you. And remember, whatever it is you dare to do or dare to dream, begin it now.